Also got special guest Kenny Cunningham.
Oh, not that special.
Good morning to you, Kenny.
No, not that special.
Very special.
Not anymore, not anymore.
You were just telling us there how you were almost stitched up by another broadcaster who were broadcasting these territories.
Let's name names.
Joe Malloy.
Joe Malloy, yeah, very unprofessional.
He put something to you, something.
He shoved me under a bus last time.
Threw the microphone up and away we go.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be the most. I wouldn't be in terms of on air, off air. I wouldn't be the most observant in a studio. He's clearly the consummate professional, allegedly.
Yeah.
But he kept stitching me up last time I was here. I got a bit nervous. I was getting a bit paranoid, like in the studio.
What sort of stuff was he saying?
He was saying, like, well, he's engaging in conversation, as I said to you, about 2 seconds before we go on air. The red light had come on. I'd be kind of going at a full throttle and then, whoa, Ken, whoa, we're on air, come on. I'd be like, well, I'm having a conversation here, stop talking to me.
Yeah.
When you say going full throttle, what are you talking about?
Just in terms of the conversation.
Okay.
You know,
So
engaging
he
with
was
people.
luring you in, Kenny,
Yeah,
fired
exactly,
up the mics
like,
and was sort of hoping for
using
some
me
sort of
as a punch bag, like, you know.
sensationalism.
Okay.
Kind of, trying to ridicule me, clearly.
Disrespectful, really.
Yeah, I thought so.
Kenny, you've not been in the office maybe about a half an hour thereabouts, but I've had about 3 or 4 people around the office earlier already telling me how much they've enjoyed our conversation about donuts that we had in the kitchen earlier.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay clear of food-related conversations because
it's
I'm getting a
difficult.
bit of feedback that
Too much said about food.
yeah. It's a sad day when all people are throwing at you as kind of small little anecdotes about your dietary requirements and your, favourite.
Well, look at it. I
foods,
mean,
etc.
you held.
It's not
the
great
kitchen.
for your CV, is it? If I'm putting my CV forward to some of the big, like maybe American sporting corporations going forward, like if I'm approaching NBC and I'm looking for
is that what you're doing? Is it your
reference in? Well, no, it's never going to happen. But there's always that,
They're big into their
I
food
would
over
say-
there.
I
It's always that hope I'm going to be poached from across the wars,
I would say if you're sending your
Middle
CV
East.
over to the US in terms of getting some football coverage, being an expert in food is probably not a bad thing to put down, Kenny. I'd include a tip of this.
What can eat over there? Have you travelled? I know you're an expert in European capitals, and you do like a weekend.
He does Hamburg.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Probably you're a bit snobbish. Like a weekend in America wouldn't be very niche. Wouldn't be very niche.
Hipster enough,
wouldn't it?
Kenny.
Like a weekend in New York. Everybody's done New York.
Be
haven't
hipster
they?
enough.
But Hamburg, not too many people have done
No,
Hamburg.
exactly.
A long weekend in Hamburg. Hamburg, really? That's interesting.
What's your favourite donut?
No, I was just saying to the girls out. So I'm more of a traditional. I'm more of a traditional. I'm not going to elongate this conversation. Yeah, sugar coated, raspberry jam filled. Yeah, back to basics. Don't overcomplicate it.
That's not what you were saying outside. You were.
All day.
Come on,
No,
Kenny.
that's true actually. Yeah, we did. No, I
Let's be honest
deviated.
here.
I did. That's what I'm saying. I deviated away from that yesterday. The coffee top and yeah.
And are you on board with the whole takeover of donuts in Dublin, because it's kind of borderline gentrification, isn't it, at this point?
No, that's a fair point. No, exactly. I think we are borderline there. Yeah, it'd be a sad day.
Hey lads, I think, isn't it great that we've got the option to go? You don't have to go to the donut shop. So they are 10 a penny. I'll grant you that. They're like sort of pharmacies now. There's every other shop is a donut shop, but they wouldn't exist if there weren't people going into them. And you don't have to go into them. You can, happily sort of stroll on past.
Yeah, but I thought you feel as if is it becoming a bit of a fashion accessory, walking with your fancy
Donut
donut,
bag.
even
Definitely.
I had the box. I was balancing the donut box heading down
Just
the
to look
keys to the
cool, even. You
studio.
didn't even want the donuts.
Yeah, I wasn't looking particularly
There's no
cool.
donuts
I had
in
it because I was late. I was actually late, so I was charging along, dodging people on the pavement while at the same time trying to stay in control of this box of donuts.
That's your street cred raised a good bit, though.
I don't know. And people look at him and think, really charging out on the pavement.
Well, anybody who
Big-
listens to this
big
show,
box of
Kenny, will know
donuts.
that you're
It's all about you. It's
a big
becomes a
French
bit of an
fancy
ego.
man and a coffee slice. Not wrong.
Sweet tooth, simple as that. Sweet
There's a
tooth.
place opposite Stephen's Green that do donuts. One called the Dub. I was telling you outside. Chocolate on top, vanilla cream on the inside. Poof.
And
For that alone, it's
See, vanilla can see now.
It's worth
No,
having these
I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling
confluence
it.
of
Jam,
donut shops.
is there
jam filled, yeah. Vanilla filled, nah.
is there a possibility that they might drop them in for free this afternoon?
If I could
Considering
think of
you
the
just
name
gave
of
them
the
a plug.
shop is really what I'm trying to get at, because then I could give them a plug and we'd definitely get free
But
donuts.
leave them 2 tickets. There's got to be is there a goodie bag with those tickets? Are they standalone tickets or?
Why not?
Not
Kenny?
like the Oscars. Not like the Oscars. You get a little goodie bag as well. do you know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
you get like a car
It's
in that
almost
goodie bag, don't you?
expected. It's got to be at least a tray of donuts with the tickets, isn't it? When you come
I'm
to pick up the
surprised
tickets.
that you. I shouldn't be, but I'm surprised that you know that much detail about what goes on at the Oscars, Kenny. That's
There is like in those Oscar goodie bags, there is like a set of car keys. And it's like you get yourself a car if you get to the Oscars. So the key is there is.
You mean like to?
No,
for
you
the night?
get a car. No, you actually the
How
goodie
many of
bags
these
are
goodie
that
bags are
level
they giving out?
to everybody in the Kodak Theatre.
Ah, come on
But
now.
sure, it's not that big a place.
But they're not giving out. How many? There's obviously several hundred people there. I
Yeah.
mean, possibly
They're giving out
1,000.
several hundred cars.
Maybe 1,000.
I think I was just made that up.
They're not
I
giving
think I
out.
was just
I'm-
made that up.
I'm not having that.
Honestly, that is the case.
I'm
Never
definitely
heard
not having
Kate-
that.
Yeah, a little bit
do you even watch-
ostentatious,
do you
but I've
even
never,
watch the
I've never
Oscars?
heard, I've never heard,
You're
I've never seen a fleet of
You're
700
jibing
cars.
him about hamburgers. He's put him off his stride a bit.
He's just trying to top everything. I say he's trying to top everything. Free cars. I'm not sure about that.
He's also not well because
I'm questioning that.
He's been following the Winter Olympics very. I've never known anybody to be as excited about the Winter Olympics as Owen ever.
Have you been watching it?
It's big in Hamburg, isn't it? It's big in winter.
Well, it'd be more
Hamburgers.
South Germany, wouldn't it?
Hamburgers are mad
Sure,
for
you,
it.
you can tell me.
Now I must admit, I haven't watched any of it. I've got to be. I haven't watched any of the Winter Olympics.
You're missing
I
out.
don't think I've ever watched. I'm 46 years of age. I don't think I've ever sat down in front of the telly
Wow.
taking in a bit of the Winter Olympics.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Strange one, isn't
honestly,
it?
You're missing out.
I would say you would enjoy it. It is strangely an attractive.
Do you know what
thing
it
to look
is?
at, isn't it?
I'll tell you what it is. Because any time it gets a mention or I read about it in the papers, there's always a picture of that curling.
Oh yeah.
You don't like
I
hurling?
can't.
Well,
I
there's
just
an-
can't. I can't get my head around it.
Have you heard?
Just
there've
can't.
been,
We're talking about rugby. Sorry,
There've been doping scandals in curling over the last week.
that's why they're actually. You need to be doped up to actually do
Well,
the sport.
To stay awake, to stay awake for the duration.
Do you
of
ever
it.
To watch it, you need to be doped up to actually watch it from start to finish.
You can get tired like hoovering your floor or brushing the kitchen floor. So I can see why somebody would dope. I mean, it's for the speed of
but you were
brushing.
talking about the technical, the toy head props we were talking about and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The technical aspect of the position, like rugby. Not going to equate it to curling, but you know, you try and get into the kind of minute detail of the actual position, technically what you need. But the curling thing, I can't. I literally cannot. I can't understand it. I don't know where to start.
It's like lawn
when I
bowling
see it.
on
When I
ice.
see it, I'm thinking, I can't. Bowls. I just keep thinking.
It's like lawn bowling
Remember
on
the
ice.
80s? Remember
But
the
that's
80s?
exactly what it is.
Growing up in Dublin, I used to watch. Funny enough, indoor bowling. Do you remember? It must have been on the BBC or.
Right,
Remember
10 pin.
David Bryant, the fellow with the pipe? He used to bowl on BBC television. BBC used to cover it clearly because that's all we used to watch
the
back
big,
then.
The Big Lebowski that you were looking at.
David, a fellow with a pipe, he used to play with a pipe in his hand, famous bowler. But now I could sit down.
10 pin.
No, bowls.
Bowls. Ah, right.
Yeah, bowls.
Yeah, okay,
Indoor bowls.
yeah.
And it was mad stuff like, but I could sit down and absorb and take in a
But
bit
it's
of
the same
that.
sport, but it's just on ice. It's exactly the same as bowls in terms of scoring.
Yeah, but seriously, them people that are doing the
sweeping.
the cleaning,
Yeah.
what in terms of how much of it really?
But first of all-
What are they doing?
Well, like,
what are they doing?
You're trying to shape the path of the ball.
But let's also not
stone.
forget here.
Shape it. What do you mean
So-
shape
so
it?
that-
You're
so
not
that-
going to create any.
Well, yeah, that's or the speed as well, isn't it? So it's the speed and
speed
movement,
and direction is
but
affected by
why
brushing.
just don't throw it as hard?
Well,
You want to
there's
affect the speed. Surely that's the skill. That's the skill in
Slow it
terms
up
of
a bit.
release and in terms of bowls.
Oh,
that,
well, sure. That's the
you're just
primary skill.
overcomplicating
It's
it.
a primary skill. It's kind of like, how do I put it? I mean,
There's no need for it, is what I'm saying. You're putting another layer on there where you don't need it. Just throw the.
one man bowling or one man curling or one woman curling.
It's like passing
do
the
well
ball.
with the team.
It's like passing the ball in
Yeah.
football. As in, like you can have an accurate pass, but if it was a quicker pass, it would have been a more effective pass.
Yeah, absolutely. But that
So-
should be down to that's the skill of the person actually throwing, releasing the whatever it is. What is it they actually
Stone.
throw?
Stone.
The stone. But surely that's the skill in terms of the direction you throw it and obviously the weight of that you put behind it. To
It is a bit like
introduce
saying-
another
it is-
factor.
It is a bit like saying one person
like-
could kick the ball into the net, so there's only need for one aside in football.
Yeah, it's like someone taking a penalty kick, a free kick from outside the box. It's halfway and going, oh, no. I haven't hit it the way I wanted. Can I retake it again? Or can somebody go and catch that ball and deep?
But I don't think
You
that's
can't-
quite accurate. I think that
It's a bad analogy, you're right, but
but like it is called curling. I mean, it's hard to push a stone and get the curl on it, whereas the brushers can give it that change in direction. You give it the power, and then you can pull it around an opposition
who the
stone.
hell ever who's responsible for putting that game together?
I'm
And I
not
don't want to
quite
be too disrespectful of people who actually do it, because I understand there's certainly an element of skill involved. Obviously, in terms of athletic ability, obviously clearly that's not an issue. I'm guessing from what I've seen. So there's a
Well, they need to
technical.
dope, so I mean there isn't an athletic requirement, obviously, if you need to juice up for it. Honestly, this has happened over the last week or 10 days that they've been
Come on,
found to have
athletic
been-
requirement. Come on now.
Just on a
The sweeping.
on a point on that though, curling has not been the thing that has stolen my heart. It has been speed skating. Are you familiar with speed skating? Short track speed skating. It is wacky races in reality. It is absolutely sensational. One of the greatest sports on the planet.
Really, yeah.
Honestly, look it up on YouTube. When
Can we
you go
get a
home.
picture of
Yeah.
speed
No,
skaters?
actually, so I haven't watched it. But obviously, I can get skating in terms of going at speed.
And collisions, short track, lots
Right.
of turns,
Yeah.
lots of drama. Very, very good. It's like obviously when I would watch that stuff in the summer games anyway, any sort of sprinting. But this is on ice, so
Kenny,
the chance for disaster.
you would hate it. One of the key things to do with speed skating is there's VAR.
No way.
Yeah.
They have to be, though.
Significant VAR input.
And tight pants as well, I suppose.
after
No,
nearly-
yeah.
Well, aerodynamics, marginal gains.
After nearly every race, there's some sort of a
Suppose the
VAR.
curlers, that's not a big thing in terms of the,
Well, to be
tight
honest-
out, in terms of
Well,
aerodynamics
they're
on the
ripped.
curling.
There's this whole culture now with, honestly, I know you're not going to believe me, but there's a whole culture in curling now of being ripped, making calendars, being seen to have sort of Dave McIntyre style biceps. Honestly,
I think I say Dave McIntyre style eyebrows.
Look at if that goes with the package. But a few, needless to say, contacts in, text, tweets, posts, all that sort of good stuff. And I Kent wondering how she wins these tickets. You just head along to our Twitter handle, Tommy. Details are here somewhere. Facebook and Twitter. Share, comment, send us your prediction. All of that good stuff, Kenny. That's how you're going to win the tickets.
Yeah, it would be handy to know how you're actually going to win the tickets. It would be relevant information to have, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would like
I think that would have, when he actually mentioned the fact there was tickets available to win,
I
you
said
would have
I was
actually
going to come back
explained how
to
you
it,
win
but
them.
we got distracted
thought
by
so, yeah.
donuts and curling. There's speed skating there, Kenny. Look on the screen. That's what's going on. Look.
And you see, look
This
how
is team
in close
speed
proximity
skating.
they are. That was a relay that they just showed a moment ago. There's
How big
Look
is
at
the
the
track
speed
going?
of it.
How big is the actual
about the same
200
distance.
meters, I think. 200 meter.
About the same
Oval
an
shape,
athletics
oval,
track,
yeah.
like an athletics track.
Maybe not even 200, maybe 100, because it doesn't even seem like a quarter of an athletics track. But they have long track speed skating as well, which isn't as good.
straight lines stuff a bit more? And
They don't collide.
There you are,
Yeah.
Kenny. Look, this is
Yeah.
the sort of action you're letting yourself in for. Look.
So yeah, there's
stretching his hamstrings. That's after a crash.
That's
is
a
it?
crash at about 100
But I
k's
would have
an
thought
hour.
at this, if it's like a oval track, I would imagine if you get out quick and in front and get that inside,
Yeah.
it can be very difficult to get
It can
on the
be.
outside in
There does
terms.
tend
You
to
know
be
what I
it's
mean?
not like Formula 1 though. There does tend to be a lot of swapping and changing over the course of a race.
But
isn't
it's
there?
a hugely difficult thing to overtake. That's probably the biggest skill, is making that move right at the corner, so the opposition can't do anything about it.
Legally
As well. That's why they have VAR and it's called upon in every second race. Is that
Oh, right.
a lot of people? There's a collision.
You'd hate it,
Any
Kenny.
type of physical contact.
They have to check who was at fault here, because any bit of physical contact, you're down, you're out. It's game over for you. Although there is certain amounts
Yellow cards.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah, yellow cards, exactly. Elise Christie, who was the Scottish representative for Great Britain, who was a superstar for them, fell in, I think, all of her races this year. And the BBC...
quite high profile, yeah.
Exactly. The BBC were like, oh, poor Elise and stuff. She's so unlucky. And it's got to the point now in the discourse where people are starting to think, wait a minute, maybe she's just not very good. Maybe she was going for this too hard, and so there is actual critical thinking around speed skating.
Oh yeah,
which
just
it's not
technical
patronising coverage
analysis,
anymore,
like
you
in
know?
terms of Scotland got to seem to have a few. Do they do the curling? Are they quite successful at curling?
It certainly used to be when I was a kid. I remember there were. Are they still?
I've heard a couple
I'm
of
not sure
Scottish
if
names
it's the
in relation
breakdown.
to the curling, like they
It's all about
participate
Team
in that.
GB, Kenny, as you know yourself. It's
How are we going? Have we got a few out there?
We've had a few interviews with a couple of the guys, but like they haven't been. I don't think we've had any indoor competitor, which the curlers and the speed skaters would be. We've had a couple of half pipers, literally half a pipe, and one of them was a snowboarder, one of them was a skier. We've had somebody on, I think, the mogul as well, which is bad for your knees by all accounts, and just outdoor on the
and I
slopes.
wouldn't, like I said, I said I haven't watched. Like I said, I wouldn't be too disrespectful in terms of, you know what I mean, all of the events. Because you've mentioned a few. Even the skiing, I saw people skiing last year for the first time, just obviously close up, and it's pretty impressive. Like in terms of how people, I can't ski, come down the slopes.
Can I just ask you on that point? You saw people last year up close skiing. Did you go to a ski resort and watch?
No, I didn't. Not for that reason. No, I brought the young fella to Lapland last
class.
Christmas, like, but just happened to be in a kind of a ski resort, a village.
Well, snow is, I would think.
Yeah, amazing. I was like, bloody hell, there's people skiing here. And it was amazing.
The speed up close is something else.
But that's what I'm saying. I'd literally sit at the back. He'd be running around the place on a sleigh, but people are literally coming down there. But just
who'd be running around the sleigh, the young fella?
He was, obviously going, just madness, like, but people, professional skiers, obviously people are there for the professional skiing, but just seeing them come over the top and actually work their way down towards you, it was literally, oof.
Great sport.
Yeah.
Oh,
high
brilliant.
danger, obviously,
it's very addictive.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I always thought, well, I could never do it when we play that dangerous sports thing. You wouldn't have been insured. And even when since I've finished playing, I've never done it. I've always a little bit paranoid about picking up a knee, because a lot of knee related, I've always found people, you hear a lot of stories, like, it can't be a coincidence. And I always felt...
There's baby slopes and stuff that you can get yourself into nice and gently.
You're taking a mick?
No, honestly, that's what they call them. That's what they call them.
I'll go down to the creche with the kids.
Like,
you do get to that age where you do feel it. I feel as if I'm at that age, if I don't jump in there now 2 foot now, I may never.
Yeah, why would you not?
I like the idea of getting to that. It's a bit like golf.
Yeah.
I love me golf, but I got to a stage a few years ago, I literally, the clubs got thrown into the back of the garage because it was driving me insane.
Right,
because I was getting to a level, I was getting a bit better. I can crack these. You get to the stage, I can crack these, so I can get to scratch golfer here. Yeah. And then you turn up the golf course one day and you're playing off 28. Yeah, so that kind of...
You say you don't play anymore?
No, I haven't played for a couple of years. I will do again. I was speaking to Keith Andrews, actually. We're going to get
He is a golf nut now, that guy.
Oh, but he's got these honorary memberships all over Dublin, doesn't he? He's one of these now, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
You could have as many honorary memberships as you want.
He's got as many
captain.
He's got as many club memberships as he's got radio and TV shows almost at the moment. Keith.
You were former Ireland captain. You could have as many honorary memberships as you want.
I've got no clue.
Keith was the youngest ever Wolves captain. So
that's the clout in
that's the clout
in
Keith Andrews. Gentleman Keith Andrews, I think, is what we should start calling him.
Mayor, he'd be a potential. I always thought Noel Quinn would be the next, make the big breakthrough in terms of politician in Ireland, potentially significant position in terms of FAI, GAB, bum. I think Keith could be the dark horse now.
You think, yeah?
Oh, Keith could be the one now,
as long as it doesn't impact on his Keith Andrews show on Off the Ball, Kenny. I don't mind what he does. That's
that's just a stepping stone. You're being used. You're being used, Eddie. You can't even see it. You can't even see it.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Right, we've got a busy show upcoming for you over the next hour and a bit. It's Winter Wonders with Kenny that we've had over the last few minutes. We're going to get it stuck into the back pages, give you a flavour of what's happening on Friday's newspapers in just a second. Kenny is here to talk all things football, and when we've done with the donuts and the curling, get his take on football this weekend, looking ahead to some of the big action as well over the weekend. Matt Williams is going to join us in studio to discuss primarily Ireland against Wales in the Six Nations tomorrow. We're going to announce our competition winner before the show is done, and we're going to leave you with the two Reeses who we had in during the week, Reece Ruddock and Reece Priestland. An interesting chat with them about mental health in sport and a lot of other interesting topics, and of course getting their predictions for the game as well. So that's what's upcoming over the next while. Do get in contact with us, hashtag OTBAM. We're here with you until just after 9 a.m. this morning, so keep your comments coming in and check out our feeds for the opportunity to win these beautiful tickets for the game tomorrow. So that's all upcoming. We've plenty of comments in already. A couple of Friday puns here from Patrick Conway, who says Kenny should run a bakery. The turnover, he says, will be great.
I like it.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, that's good.
We could pick on the Danish, he says. I mean, Kenny is well bred for a Northsider.
For an Northsider,
that's what he says, yeah. Right, we'll get back to some of those in just a second, but we're going to tell you what's happening in the back pages first of all.
Yeah, the rugby dominating proceedings this morning. We'll start with the Irish Times. Jerry Thornley writing that the Kiwi coaching edge adds to Celtic rivalry, while matter of fact Levy can't wait for Wales and his biggest challenge yet. That's Gavin Cummiskey in conversation with Dan Levy. He's been across the back pages this morning. On the attack, reads the headline in the Irish Examiner: players feeling degree of frustration, admits Schmidt. That's to do with those Warren Gatland comments from 2015 being dug up again this week. At the back of the Irish Independent is a full page ad, but it's a Six Nations team inside the back page. Rory O'Connor writing, Ireland need more craft than graft to slay Dragon. True test of attacking credentials awaits as Schmidt's side face their biggest test yet. And that's the rugby back pages for the time being, Adrian.
Yeah, so the back page of the Irish Daily Sun this morning. Whose name is on the manager's door? Jose jibe to tell Pog who's boss. This is the ongoing spat that we'll get Kenny's take on in just a second. Jose Mourinho told Paul Pogba, I'm the boss, in a furious training ground showdown An exclusive there from Neil Custis this morning in The Sun. The exclusive also extends to the Star, where Peter Edwards writes that Paul Pogba is feeling a bit like a scapegoat. Now, I've read the piece and I can't find the quotes or the sources about that, but needless to say, it's pretty unsavoury between the two of these. Conor McGregor, I will fight. Seems like he wants to get back into the UFC sooner rather than later. The Herald this morning, we came up short. Statement of fact there after Celtic crashing out of Europe in fairly spectacular style last night. That is the Herald in the Mirror this morning. Hoops Hopes turn Tsar. Did you get it?
I was miles away. Sorry, Adrian.
Hoops Hopes turn Tsar. You have to adopt a London accent really to fully plug into that one. Rogers blast players after rushing a front. Celtic
blast players, really? Oh,
yeah. It was. It wasn't quite that. There was also some.
Generally very protective of the players after the games.
And Nigel Twiston-Davis, the new one, horse of a lifetime. Nigel Twiston-Davis writes about it inside in the Racing Post this morning.
On the back of the Times Ireland edition, Damien Lawler is saying that it's going to be a close race rather, for the GAA top job. There seems to be a bit of confusion about when the new Director General is going to be announced, that it could be announced this weekend at Congress, or it could be pushed down the line, as Damien Lawler is writing today. Some of the contenders for the DG job, he's pointing out, Jarlath Burns, Liam Sheedy, Tom Ryan and Ken Spratt, Assistant Secretary leading the sport and tourism functions at the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sport, is thought to be in the mix as well. So people involved in the GAA, people outside of the GAA thought to be in the mix. So it's going to be a very interesting one once even the candidates for this job are revealed, let alone the actual successful candidate. Just a couple of ones then from across the Irish Sea then on the back of the Guardian. We play legally, says Jones, in war of words over penalties. While on the front of the Daily Telegraph, it's also the Calcutta Cup being previewed. Big Brother is watching you. Eddie Jones reveals cameras constantly checking his players in camp. And even more remarkably than that perhaps, coach says his side are 40% fitter than when he took England to Murrayfield in 2016. Yes, a 40% increase in fitness in a professional sports people.
That's impressive.
In 2 years.
How do you calculate 40% added fitness?
It is the most unmarginal of gains.
I think that's possible in terms of like the science they've got behind them now in terms of the backroom staff.
Fair enough. It's significant though, isn't it? I mean,
that's huge. I mean, people talk about like fine margins in terms of
I'm not sure.
players' physical conditions. That's
10%
huge.
Well, I mean, he'd be suggesting that the team were from 20. When did he say?
2 years ago.
It's a bit of a it's a bit. I wouldn't say disrespectful.
How unfit
to
would you want
previous.
to have been 2 years ago to have made those sort of gains?
Maybe 30 years.
30 years ago. Okay.
It's a fair point.
Interesting stuff in the GAA that we might get into in a little bit. The new DG position has been put back slightly. It was due to be announced at Congress this weekend. It's been put back into the middle of March because of slight complications that had cropped up over the course of the applications process about whether the candidate needs to have a business degree or not. They eventually scrapped that. And also the new president is going to take up his seat at Congress this weekend. John Horan comes in for Aegon Afariel, and I was astonished outside, Kenny, to hear that this was a name you're very familiar with.
Dublin's a small town, Adrian. You know that. Skeletons everywhere.
Former teacher.
Former science teacher, John Horan. I could tell you stories. I could tell you stories. That'd bring that man down.
The platform is yours.
Bring him down. No chance.
Good teacher?
No chance. Yeah, he was a good teacher, but obviously I had a reasonably close relationship with him because he was involved, obviously, in the Garda school, hurling and Gaelic predominantly, but also, and I give him credit for this because obviously he's steeped in the GAA, but at the time he was the one responsible really for putting the first football team together at St Vincent's while he was there. We went on to win a Leinster Schools title within 2 years. But yeah, John would have been obviously, as I said, like immersed in the gab, but with a couple of decent football players.
Right.
I don't need to say soccer, though. I don't know how it's always feeling.
I think it's important in this context. I think in this context to say soccer is probably legit.
Yeah. I mean, the gab for me, and football's football. So yeah, alongside another teacher there, Mick Ryan, fair play to them, put the football team together and off we went. So yeah, good times there.
So within 1 year of Horan setting up this team, you were, Leinster champions?
Leinster Schools, we won a Leinster title. Yeah, it was mad stuff. Yeah, Desi was in the team. Desi was like...
In the football team, the soccer team?
Yeah, we had to find a position for him, like, you know what I mean?
Where was he playing?
Big meathead, like, you know what I mean? We had like a wrecking ball, like, we had to get him in the team somewhere. I think we threw him up centre forward, just smash a few centre halves around the place, you know, just... Bit like Moussa Dembele, like Celtic.
False number nine side of row.
Hit Desi early. When you say like the ball sticks, literally when Desi got the ball into his feet, that, you know, forget it. You weren't getting the ball off him. the bear like.
Basket.
Yeah, but no, John. Yeah, I spent about 4 years with John. Little did I know he'd be the one who'd have the last laugh, like, you know what I mean, in terms of...
Is that how you're viewing this, Kenny?
Yeah, he's almost taking the spotlight off people. It's a disgrace.
Was he a good teacher?
Yeah.
Delay there, Kenny.
Good teacher. No, but good teachers, depends what, in terms of, for me, it's all about the human dynamic. Yeah. With teachers, so he's on a good sense of humour and that type of thing, like, you know.
Was he a good teacher?
I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to be very careful here where I tread. Potentially, I might have, probably best he speaks about that. I might have overstepped the line a couple of times. He might have had to take a little bit of a few disciplinary issues with me over the years. Nah, I'm talking.
I'd say I'm
not talking mad stuff.
You'd have been a messer, though, I'd say.
I wouldn't go as far as saying messing. I enjoyed myself at times in the classroom. I might have stepped over the line in some people's opinion. And John might have felt the need to take a bit of action, disciplinary.
There.
Yeah, a little bit.
Suspended?
No, not suspended. Like no. But I'll leave it there. I'll say it's up to John to put a bit more me on the bone.
I'm absolutely certain he's going to address it in his opening speech.
I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks. I think the Fiend are having a bit of a get-together in a few weeks, fundraiser up in DCU, like, and that's what I popped my head along. So I'm going to do it. Hopefully, I might hook up with him.
But after you've slated him here now, I'm not sure.
I've done everything but slate him. And I'd hope you. It
sounds like an exceptional candidate.
Despite Aidan's promptings trying to get information out of me.
He has an unusual path to president as well, in that he's never been county board chairman. He's only been administrator relatively recently. Like that, it tends to be a reward for having spent a lifetime in, not quite an award, because to be fair, there's obviously full-on competition for it and that sort of stuff, but you tend to have spent your life in GA administration before you get into that position.
Right, gotcha.
It's a different path, but interesting to see what he brings to it. More of that and on. We're going to talk football with Kenny very shortly, but first of all, Andy Lee, who announced his retirement on the show during the week. He's been down to Wexford to hear the incredible story of Niall Boom Boom Kennedy. This is really worth a watch. It's the full 10 minutes of it up on our YouTube channel. He's 64th ranked heavyweight in the world, also a full-time guard. He's fighting in Boston tomorrow night, and you can head over to YouTube and check out that full bit. But here's a snippet of it before we talk football with Kenny. Niall sparring with none other than Anthony Joshua.
Brilliant. A great parameter as well. It's very good to be able to see where you are. Yeah. And I wouldn't say I lack confidence, but I believed I was at the bottom of the mountain and he's the top of the mountain. And I thought there was a massive distance, but the sparring showed me that the distance isn't as far as I thought, you know, and that it's achievable, which I suppose for my own confidence is a good thing as well, you know. And sparred him for, I've done 12 rounds with him. His last 12 rounds before his last fight as well. So.
This is Anthony Joshua signed it for his baby girl in the back of it.
What does it say?
To the main man MJ, grow strong, be smart, all the best, Anthony Joshua.
That's a pretty cool thing to have. An interesting story as well of a guy that came very close, Kenny, to giving up the game. He, at one stage, one of his coach, I think it was also his best friend, sat him down and said, listen, if you're not going to put it in, you might as well just pack it in. And he decided he was going to give it a go. It's a fascinating story about the guy. He went over to the US, Massachusetts as well, I think, actually.
East Coast.
A couple of months ago to at the same time as his child was being born, and the child was born prematurely. He had all this going on in the background while he's over in the States trying to it's a make or break fight for him that he wasn't expected to win at all. There's some footage of it in that YouTube piece that I recommend you go and check out because it's a good watch, but just an interesting story.
It sounds an interesting
as well,
story.
Like he's not a spring chicken.
So he's a guard, you mentioned the fact, so you had to put that aside, and obviously well, you have to, like that. I mean, you can't do anything but in that game. Like totally commit yourself.
Loads of comments coming in, and keep them coming in at hashtag OTBAM. Question here from Wayne Ryan. Did I hear Kenny right last night saying the Osterunds player sent the Arsenal defender out for a batch loaf? Classic. I heard it, Kenny. It did happen.
I may well have done to, because Chris Commons mentioned to me, he was on the panel with me afterwards, and he was literally.
It was the Osterunds striker. Was it Chambers that he? Yeah, Chambers.
No, it was Sema. It was a great goal, brilliant goal. I mean, I couldn't believe how well they played last night. I watched a bit of the first game, but last night going into the game, I wasn't never felt, well, this game's
Arsenal shouldn't have been
game's
shouldn't
over.
have been in trouble.
Yeah, I couldn't even have made an argument last night in terms of, well, look, Arsenal got to be careful here, lack of concentration, football being football, point. I just couldn't have done, so even that first half, when they got the first goal, even then I was like, that's interesting, fair play, they've got to go and please for them. But very quickly, that second goal went in, I thought, hold on. But yeah, this team can actually play. Got some good players, individual players, particularly high up the pitch. That Sema, who got that goal in particular you were talking about. Brilliant goal, back to goal. It was almost like that rifle, that reminded me of Rivaldo when he put his left foot through it. Remember Rivaldo, Barcelona, just through that power he had in that kind of left foot. It was an amazing game because the 2-0, it was almost like shock and awe a little
What's
bit.
Chambers? I have to say, knowing that you were coming in this morning and watching the game last night, I was looking at it going, Kenny must be jumping out of his skin in studio at Callum Chambers.
I was having this conversation. Gary Breen was alongside me, so we're just having a discussion about it. It's always interesting from a technical point of view, from a defender's point of view. I mean, Chris might as well have been out making the teas like Chris Commons. We're just like not interested in what he has. Yeah, right, Chris, good. That's just the way it is, isn't it? A little bit of snobbery comes in, isn't it? Yeah, likewise, we started talking about number 9s and stuff like that. Well, I actually don't agree with, to be honest. I'm only kidding around, obviously, but it's a typical goalkeeper one, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have a goalkeeper in the studio, goalkeeper makes a mistake. Well, you might as well be like wallpaper, sat next to a goalkeeper. Yeah. You're not even asked for your opinion. It gives him the right hump. I always try and launch myself into the conversation, to be honest with you. I always feel as if, well, hold on, Shay's generally sat alongside me in the studio. Now, Shay won't be back, so I give an opinion about centre-halves, full-backs, or, centre-forwards. Oh, but lo and behold, if you try and offer an opinion about a goalkeeper, its position or anything from a technical point of view, it's like...
But you were saying the same about Chris Commons. Don't be coming onto my turf, buddy.
Yeah, but the point, exactly. No, I mean, obviously we didn't mug him off, but just it was interesting because Breeny was saying in terms of he would have made more physical contact. He would have literally thrown an arm around and actually prevented him from going one way.
He stood off him.
So you almost dictate in terms of where he has to go.
He wasn't
tight, but I'd make the opposite. I was a little bit different. I'd make the opposite argument that I'd like to be a step further away, where I could actually see the man and the ball. Because if you get too close to a player from behind, you actually can't see the ball. So when he drops his shoulder to his left, you just automatically react to it, thinking, well, I can't see the ball. Well, I presume he's taking the ball that direction, where clever players will check it back to the side, which he did, and do you. Whereas if you're a step away, you can see the man and ball. That little body swerve doesn't throw you so much, because generally you think, well, the ball hasn't shifted. Hold on, you got a better angle. You're looking at both. But Breeny was a little bit opposite. He'd I'd like to physically manhandle him and actually wrestle him one side. So I literally I'm dictating where he's going, so I can react to the run. So everybody's a little bit different, but it was brilliant individual skill. Amazing game. It was 2-0. You're thinking, oh my goodness. What's happening?
It seems strange, though, that Callum Chambers and Rob Holding have come into the Arsenal setup as promising young fellas, and they haven't made that step on, despite the fact that you have somebody like Steve Bold involved in the camp, who, granted, you can criticise Steve Bold because he doesn't have enough influence on the overall shape of the defence, but on an individual basis, you'd expect him to improve that sort of stuff.
You would hope so. You would hope that kind of coaching's going on. I'd be amazed if it isn't. I'd be very disappointed if Arsenal Wenger. I know there's a line of think with Wenger that he doesn't like that type of coaching. That you're talking about Bowl coming onto the training, he's taking the session, right, we're doing a defensive. Clearly, Wenger's like, no, I don't want that. No, we're going to get plenty of touches. I don't want that kind of negative thinking. We're going to dominate possession of the ball. This is how we play. So I can understand that to a point, although I don't agree with it, because it's been their big Achilles heel over the years, Arsenal, in terms of the defensive organisation, out possession of the football. But you're right, on an individual basis, I'd be absolutely devastated as a player if Wenger was preventing a coach as experienced and as qualified as Steve Bold from having those kind of conversations with players and in the video analysis room, wherever it was, even on the training pitch on a one-to-one basis, giving them that information and actually educating them. That's his job as a coach, even at that level. Educate and develop even your younger players. And you're right, that's why those players have come to the football clubs, because they're talented young players with potential. And you're probably right, they probably haven't stepped on and fulfilled that potential as yet. And you'd have to say, at the moment, they're just not good enough to get into that Arsenal team, which is actually crying out for strength in that area in the pitch. But they just haven't come on. Yeah,
well, Chambers was supposed to be obviously part of that solution. They play City obviously in the Carabao League Cup final at the weekend, and they've such a poor record against top 6 teams, Arsenal, this season. 6 points from 24 against the top 6, something like that. It's pretty dismal. They do, on the other hand, they do have the capacity at times to up themselves against better teams.
Done it to Chelsea, didn't they? Last year in one of the finals. You wouldn't rule them out. They're a dangerous side, always have been, Arsenal, on any given day. they are capable because of the quality which they have, particularly in forward areas of the pitch. I mean, the cup final last year, Mertesacker came in at centre half. He had an absolute worldie, but that was clearly one night only. I mean, he's on his last legs, but he somehow, with his experience and his know-how, we found that kind of bit of a superhuman performance in the centre of defence, like, you know what I mean? But so, yeah, certainly are capable of winning this game. I think the likes of whether Ramsey can get Ramsey back into the team, get him fit. He's a little bit of a talisman for them, I think, Ramsey, on occasions like this. But I'd certainly make Manchester City favourites. And off the back of the Wigan defeat, you just feel as if, in terms of that real focus extra determination from Manchester City going into the game, not that they need it, but you just feel as if that really focused them even more so. So I would expect Manchester City to win it.
Yeah, and it's very interesting when you look at some of the build-up around this game, people comparing this Pep Guardiola side to Wenger's first great team, not the George Graham era that he took over, but his first team that was Wenger's team. And they talk about, I think it was Jason Burt writing about this, or sorry, Richard Jolly actually on ESPN, talking about the number 10 role and that Bergkamp was the 10, whereas this Pep team have 2 free 8s. So you've got De Bruyne and you've got Silva. And that strikes me as something that Arsenal are just patently not equipped to deal with, because they get overrun in midfield so often.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 guys who are so bloody good on the ball, and they're overrunning you in midfield. You're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you feel as if Arsenal just have, but they can't go with an orthodox midfield too against Manchester City. You just can't see it. The point you make with Fernandinho sitting as that number 6 and the 2 advanced number 8s, that little overload in that area of the pitch. I mean, even if you had a strong defensive pairing in that area of the pitch, you'd be up against it. Even like a Kante and a Matic from last year up against that potential Manchester in midfield 3 would have their hands full, just in terms of the quality they have, one-touch pass and positions they pick up, the little pockets in behind you, move the ball that quickly. That'd be a big ask for players of that quality, let alone a partnership potentially of Wilshere and El Neni in there having to deal with that. So they're just, like you say, they're just not equipped to do it. It's difficult to make a strong argument how they can deal with that type of quality that Manchester City have in that area of the pitch. I just can't.
And the goals, and where the goal's going to come. Like, City are obviously a goal machine, and like from an Arsenal point of view, it seems as if they're all, like, I think Lacazette is injured. It seems as if they're all in on Welbeck, like a player who's played over the last 4 seasons or whatever. 60,
well,
60
Aubameyang will play, wouldn't he? Unless I'm wrong, Aubameyang will play high up the pitch. But it's different because of like how they strengthen the squad high up the pitch. Mkhitaryan coming in, Aubameyang, people are like, oh yeah, abundance of riches, which they have. But I still haven't quite seen in terms of the balance, the dynamic up front, how exactly it's all going to fit together. Because I'm saying now Arsenal going into this game at the weekend probably have to play with 3 orthodox midfielders, which means you can't play with the 10. You sacrifice the 10 by playing with 3 orthodox midfielders. You play with an out-and-out 9. But Arsenal, I've got Ozil, who really wants to play, who's desperate to play that 10 role. Mkhitaryan's coming into the club and thinking, well, that's where I want to play. So you commit yourselves to playing with that 3 in there, which you have to against City, and you've got 2 natural number 10s who really you're thinking, I have to fit these somewhere into the team. So you're hiking Mkhitaryan on maybe the left wing, Ozil into wider, which they don't want to be. So I don't quite see the fit there high up the pitch. Capable at any given moment, Ozil, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan making things happen, scoring goals. Yes, certainly, but it's just I still look at it and it's a bit of a mess. That Arsenal team all over the pitch, where City, like you say, the back 4, that regimented 3 in midfield, and we talk about, say, Silva and De Bruyne maybe dropping off and finding space, but they're actually quite regimented in terms of positions that they take up in those inside channels. They don't really head out on the touchline or drop into full back position to pick up the ball. They kind of break off to receive the ball, but it's generally within 10 yards in the areas of the pitch that they should be. And you look at an overview of the City when they play, it's pretty regimented how they play in and out possession. Generally teams, you look when they haven't got the ball, you can see the shape they take up. They drop into a defensive shape. But in possession of the team, generally most teams, a little bit of freedom in terms of positions players take up. Pogba's probably a good example. People say he roams everywhere. He loses his shape, build discipline, that type of thing. Some managers will give you a lot of freedom. Just go and play, take up any position. Yeah, I trust you. But Manchester City and Guardiola, you feel as if he puts as much time into positional sense in possession than outside. And so when we get the ball in this area, this is where you need to be. I'm not giving you freedom to go and float anywhere. Even De Bruyne and Silva, as good as they are, you're not just going to float out meander anywhere and get the ball. This is where I need you to be. When Fernandinho gets the ball in this area, De Bruyne, that's where I need you to be. Wide men, hold your position. 10, 9, Aguero, stretch the 2 centre-halves high up the pitch. Create these pockets of space where I know De Bruyne and Silva is going to be. So you almost feel as if when De Bruyne Fernandinho gets the ball and opens up, he knows, without having to get his head up, where's De Bruyne, I can find them. He knows the area of the pitch where it's going to be. It's as good as that. It's as locked down as that. And that's the impressive thing for me, Guardiola. Not in terms of organisation, out possession, in possession, how much work he puts in possession, where he expects players to be. And that's good development, good education from players. I think that's where he improves players. A lot of players talk about they're better players under Guardiola. He's improved them. And I don't think they're talking about, he's made me a better player from a technical point of view. I'm 2 foot now, he works me left foot, on me right foot. I think it's in terms of game appreciation, game intelligence. I think that's where you develop as a player under Guardiola.
And Mkhitaryan out this weekend as well in Cup Tide. It's difficult to make a case. It seems like it's going to be a City win. That's the League Cup final. The other game in the context of everything that's gone on this week we want to get your thoughts on is obviously United and Chelsea in the Premier League on Sunday. And like the Pogba stuff, we've been going through it a bit earlier, is on the back pages again this morning. This sort of spat between Jose and Pogba ongoing. The Sun here, whose name is on the manager's door. Jose's job to tell Pog who's boss. Like, I wonder, is there going to be a solution found to this, and how does that come about? I mean, it's a bizarre enough situation that you would have assumed that Mourinho, as the manager in this dynamic, is the one who's stepping in to fix it. Even if Pogba's out of line, we don't know, but even if he is, surely Mourinho's got to step in and fix it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. We've seen this before, this behaviour from Mourinho last year, time and time again. Mkhitaryan was the obvious one early on in his career, but Martial, Jones, Smalling, Luke Shaw, Rashford, we've seen this type of situation, this kind of, I wouldn't say public humiliation, although in the case of Luke Shaw, that's exactly what it was. I thought it was unforgivable what Mourinho did in relation to a young player like Luke Shaw. But in public, to be kind of, talking your players down as he has done. For me, people say, some people you have to, treat them with the stick. They respond to that. Well, in my experience, very, very few players. It's a small percentage of players who, if they're publicly kind of ridiculed or criticised by a manager, that will have a galvanising effect on them. Those situations for me are few and far between. By and large, players don't react very well to that.
Is it retrievable? Is this retrievable, do you think, this situation?
I think it is, because I don't think he's probably come out and said his attitude is a disgrace. But he did allude to it why McTominay played the other night, and he said, well, Paul, hasn't had a lot of football recently. He said he wasn't available at the weekend. He took himself out of the team.
I couldn't even, at the end of that, I couldn't even fully understand what he was talking about.
Yeah, what he was saying was, look, I wanted him to play. He said he wasn't fit to play. I wasn't happy about it, but what can I do? But he clearly wasn't happy. And I refer back to a Europa game last year when Smalling and Jones had injuries going into the game, picked up an international duty with England. And the question was, will you have Smalling and Jones back? And he said, well, look, he basically said, if it was me, I'd play. With their injuries, if it was me, I'd play. Whether they're going to play, I don't know. And I remember listening to this thinking, wow, what he's absolutely questioning their professional integrity, but just their character, their heart, if they actually want to put the jersey on and play through the pain barrier a little bit, really hanging players out. And there was a little bit of that with Pogba in terms of, well, I actually thought he was going to play Saturday, but he told me he wasn't, so, well, he doesn't want to play. So almost like poking and pointing the finger at criticism at Pogba a little bit. He's got to be careful, because the younger players, the likes of Rashford, younger players, they'll take it, they'll absorb a big personality, Mourinho. Pogba, he's got to be careful how he handles that young, because he needs him. He needs him, because with Pogba in the team at his best, they're not good enough to win a league title this year. Without Pogba, and we've seen it this year when he was out for that extended amount of time through injury, Manchester United are nowhere near. They are, without his creativity in the team, there is nothing in that. It's like a barren wasteland, that central midfield area. They're just like back to front second balls, and that's it, without him in the team. So unless there's a situation coming where Pogba's going to get shown the door, he'll get his money back and probably a little bit more, because people will pay that money, and totally do major surgery on the team in the summer. He's got to build those bridges very quickly with Pogba and find a solution to his position in the team, which I think is obvious enough. I think we all know it. He's got to play a midfield three. He's got to play Pogba left of a three in that advanced A position that you're talking about, that inside left channel. He's got Matic there. We've spoken about this before in the Hull position. Just got to find another one to play in there as well. Herrera's not good enough. Fellaini, we know that.
McTominay's going to be that guy, isn't it?
I'll give him credit on a very disciplined role the other night, good legs, athletic, that type of thing. But in terms of real creative edge, quality, I'm not too sure he's quite there yet.
He's a very positive player, isn't he? Like,
I think he's a good one to have around.
The forward pass,
almost. Yeah, and he's got potential. But at this moment in time, going into starting next season, if Mourinho's going to play with that midfield three, he's got to go and find someone of real quality and release Pogba to play in that advanced position higher up the pitch where he can go and influence the game, and where when he hasn't got the ball and he drops into his shape, he's kind of protected. You know, he's got a midfield narrow three around him. He's got two wide men dropping in, banking into a compact midfield five. And that's how you protect someone like a Pogba, an orthodox central midfielder who's loose defensively, who switches off, you can't trust. How can you play that player in a midfield position and get the best out of him? For me, that's pretty much it. There's no other way. You can't play him in a two. Can't really play him in a diamond because you get exposed down the sides. He gets dragged out. You got to protect him in there by getting players around him. Matic behind him, another player alongside, wide men dropping in narrow to him. And just protect them, you know what I mean? And don't ask too much of him out of possession of the football. That's kind of the way forward, but haven't quite seen it yet, but I don't think he's got the personnel to do it. But he needs to get there pretty quickly. Yeah. Because I think he's got to be careful how he handles Pogba, because I'm not the ego that's involved there, the kind of machine, the PR machine that's behind Pogba. You know what I mean? There's going to come a stage where
ripple impact.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to be careful.
I wonder, like, just in the context of that game as well. Sid Lowe's writing in the Guardian this morning, and it's the point that keeps coming up about United. We'd spoken about it on the Keith Andrews show yesterday. Like, I've been to some United games under Van Gaal, and it was horrible stuff to look at, and they weren't getting results. And for a while under Mourinho, it wasn't great, but they were getting results, and maybe that's slowed up a small bit now. And maybe the answer to this question is they just need to win games. But does Mourinho have to entertain? Like, is that part of his role at a club like Manchester United?
Yeah, but then this go around in circles. What are you entertained by watching a game of football? What entertains you, what entertains me might be clearly...
Well, horribly defensive football like they've been playing, like they played during the week, is just baseline.
The defensive football and good defending, you know what I mean? There's nothing, it's quite vague there. I like to see teams with good defensive shape, good defensive discipline that defend well.
Well, Chelsea's a perfect example, isn't it? Chelsea did it well, and it was actually good to watch, whereas Manchester United, it was needless. Sevilla aren't a good team.
No, they aren't particularly. Generally, I thought Manchester United defended quite well, but when they won the ball back, in terms of offering an attacking threat, it's that happy balance, isn't it? You always got to find that between defensively very solid, conceding very few goals and opportunities, but also having the ability, whether it's through dominating possession of the football or being more of a counter-attacking team, to actually be effective in the other half of the pitch. And United the other night looked as if they'd set up not to dominate the ball, because they hadn't really got a ball playing centre midfield. That's fair enough. So you're not going to dominate possession, but how are you going to get up to the other end of the pitch? And the chat before the game was, well, they're going to counter-attack. They're going to hit Sevilla in the counter-attack. Well, that's fair enough. Lukaku high up the pitch can see that. Sanchez can break out at times, got the legs to get up there and around them. But then Juan Mata's playing on the right wing. You're not going to counter-attack too effectively with probably the slowest player in the Manchester United. So that surprised me that Martial and a Rashford didn't play. So I have no problem with that. Ferguson went away from home in Europe a lot of times, soaked up pressure, sat behind it, went for those three kind of diggers. I wouldn't say cloggers, again, a little bit disrespectful, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The diggers in that central midfield, soak it up, and then Rooney, off you go. Ronaldo, pace on the break, absolutely open teams up. So I have absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine to me. I actually enjoy that. I actually enjoy that type of football, like quick counter-attacking football, penetrative football. Within seconds you get from one penalty box to the other. I have absolutely nothing wrong with it if you're playing to your strengths. So that suits the strengths of the players that you have at your disposal. So that's why it's interesting when I say the personnel. Pogba, if he's got to be the answer in there. If you're talking about more of a creative element to Manchester United's play, more of a possession-based team, you know, that's the type of football that you want. Then you've got to build a team around the kind of Pogba. If not, get him out, get more of a digger in, and become that kind of successful counter-attacking team. Maybe more like an Atletico Madrid or the Simeone predominantly over the past maybe 4 or 5 years. You know, I've enjoyed watching that type of football. But I suppose it's your perception, what the type of football you enjoy, and like you're indicating there, Adrian, what Manchester United supporters expect from the team, the type of football, the brand of football, entertaining football, whatever that is. That means different things to different people.
I know you got to get out of here, so I just want to get your thoughts of what way you think that game is going to go at the weekend. I mean, it's whether it's going to be United or Chelsea. What are you thinking?
Yeah,
I mean, Chelsea have their own little stuff going on in the background, obviously, as well with Conte.
Yeah, exactly. But when it's not big games, when it matters, they really step up. Chelsea, like they did against Barcelona, from a tactical point of view, I thought it was spot on. I would have disagreed in terms of a couple of the personnel choices. person would have played Murat and myself high up the pitch and played Hazard a little.
He doesn't like to play up there either, Hazard. He said it.
Yeah, exactly. So that might change for the second leg. But in terms of like how he set the teams up to play, like, you know, you're talking about looking at a game and very quickly seeing the picture in terms of how a team's set up. You saw that clearly with Chelsea the other evening, and they were very effective doing it. I'd lean towards Chelsea, if I'm being honest with you. I expect more from Manchester United. I really do, but I'd lean towards Chelsea if they can get their strongest team on the pitch.
Yeah.
I think
a different Chelsea than we saw during the week, though, won't it? In terms of their attitude to the game.
I think so. Maybe, yeah, but I think Manchester United might allow them to do that, depending on who plays for Manchester United. Pogba doesn't play. I can't believe that he's not going to play. I think he will play, so more possession of the ball for Manchester United. But then Chelsea, not that possession-based team, not overly worried about dominating possession in the football chase. Chelsea, because of how they can hit teams on that counter.
They did it against United in the previous fixture, though, didn't they? Fabregas was sensational that night. I remember Sunday afternoon, they completely overran United in midfield.
Yeah.
Fabregas ran the show. Although, that being said, the winning goal, if I recall, was just a freak Azpilicueta cross, and Morata just found himself free in the box, and it wasn't exactly indicative of a great build-up play from the midfield. But I do recall Fabregas just running the show in that midfield, so they have the potential to do that.
Yeah, they can flip it up. They can get that creative in there with Fabregas, but then defensively, I think they lose out a little bit. There's more of an argument for Drinkwater in there, but they got options in there. Chelsea, they can kind of mix it up. Where Manchester United in that central midfield area for me are lacking. That's where they're really lacking. Chelsea, Bakayoko, I know he's not in great form. Fabregas, they can mix it up. Willian, Pedro, they can change from. They've got really good options in there for me, which kind of gives them the edge over Manchester. But I certainly wouldn't rule Manchester United, and Pogba in particular for me is capable. Marino throws him in. He has that type of performance that lifts and galvanises the whole team. Then of course Marino's taking credit for it, I presume, after the game because of his, because of his man managing the stars, how he's got the best out of him, the kind of poking the bear, that type of thing. But I'd be worried if I was a Manchester United supporter in terms of the dynamic between Marino and Pogba, potentially where that's going, because he needs him.
Kenny, you've been very good with your time. It's time spent in your company is always time well spent. Thanks a million for coming.
Cheers, lads. Yeah, it goes too quick as always.
Too quick. There's a million other things we'd like to talk about. We'll do it again. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Pleasure.